All right, today what we're going to talk about is a vertex form of a parabola and transformations. So vertex form of a quadratic is this formula right here, y equals a, then you have x minus h squared plus k, where the vertex is hk and the axis of symmetry is x equals h. So h represents the horizontal shift, so basically left to right, starting with x equals 0. K represents the vertical shift, so going up or down, and how much the graph has shifted from y equals 0. So there's a lot of parts, and if you know what to look for in an equation, this is telling you exactly how to move as long as you understand the parts to it. So let's break down what each of the variables and what each of the parts of this mean. So the first part is you have A. So A here, or there you go, A here is going to tell you a couple different things. It's first going to tell you if it opens up, if it's positive, or it's going to tell you if it opens down, if A is negative. In this case, A is positive, so that means it's going to open up. A will also tell you a couple things. If A is greater than 1, it's going to stretch or narrow, so it's going to be skinnier and stretch out that way. Or if A is between 0 and 1, it's going to compress or widen, so it's like someone's flattening it. So A can tell you a couple different things. H also tells you the horizontal shift. Oh, did I switch my colors? I did. Well, that's how it goes sometimes with my pretty colors. Oh well, let me get back on track here. But the H is going to tell you how much you are going left or right. So here, H is right there, and x equals h, and then y, or k, is there. Okay, now we're back. All right, so h is telling you what direction you're going if you're going left or right. Now, in this formula, if you notice, there are no parentheses because it's always going to be minus h. So you have to be careful because if it's minus a negative h is going left. So really, if you were to have a plus sign here, you're actually going left. Now, if you were to have a minus sign here, that means you're going right because it's negative and h is positive. So you're doing the opposite sign. So some people, it helps them to remember it if they were to put parentheses around the h, and they know in this case h is positive, so you're going to go right. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's look at k. K is going to tell you how much up or down you're going to go, and we don't have to worry about the sign doing opposite signs with k, only h. So if k is positive, you're going up. If this were a minus k, you're going down. All right, so lots of parts to think about, but once you're able to remember that, you're able to figure out what's happening to your graph. So let's look here, and we want to order the functions from narrowest to the widest. So basically look at your a value, and that's going to tell you which one you're going to do. So for the first one, you're only looking at the absolute value because the negative just tells you if you're opening up or down, in this case down. So we're only looking at 2. So for 2, I've got a 1/3 and I've got a 4. So remember that if a is greater than 1, it's going to become narrow or stretch. So in this case, 4, even though it's the biggest number, is going to be the skinniest. And the next skinniest is 2. And if a is between 0 and 1, which 1/3 is, then it's going to be the widest. So go ahead, I want you to try these, and just so you know, this is a decimal, or 0.2 or 2/10. All right, so now we got to figure out what's happening to the graph. So I did a bunch of parts for you already to help you out. And so if you're looking here, The original equation, if you were to do nothing, would be y equals 1, because remember this is your a, times x minus h squared plus 0. So if nothing happens, meaning your original equation was, was y equals x squared, that's exactly what this is. So y equals x squared is the same as all of this happening. So we're going to look at a, we're going to look at h, and we're going to look at k. So let's start with the first one. I know I have y equals x squared plus 5. Well, in order for h, we don't know what h is. So h is 0 because it's the x squared. So this is really x minus 0 squared. We don't have an a. So since there's no a listed, we know a is 1. And then this is your k, which is positive 5. So the only change that's actually happened from your graph is we only, because this is a, which is fine, and then 0 means nothing happened. So really, you only went up 5 here. All right, so now let's look on this, oh, and we have to write the vertex. So your vertex, we said h was 0 because there was nothing there, and k is 5. All right. And think of this as like your xy, but this is how it's moving, okay? So now for this next one, let's look here. I know this is a, and then so it's a x minus h squared plus k. Well, we don't know what k is, so that's why we're writing 0. So nothing's happening with k. But if you notice, h is 2, and again, think of it as the opposite sign. So this is actually a positive 2, which means you're going right. And then in this case, a is 2, so it's going to become more narrow. Oops. And then this means it's going to open down. So put it all together, which means it's reflected. So we said that this negative means it's reflective or it's going to open down. We said this 2 means you either stretch or make it narrow by 2. And then this h is saying we're going to the right 2. And if you're to look at the vertex, it should be positive 2, 0, which is what we have. All right, so now let's look at this one. So I've got y equals a x plus h squared plus k. So if you're looking here, a is 1/2. So I know if it's between 0 and 1, it's a compression. So I'm going to compress or widen. I know, if you notice, this is plus, so you're going to do the opposite sign. So if it's a plus, it's really a minus or a negative 3. So in this case, your h is actually going to go left 3. And then k, we don't worry, we just do exactly what the sign says. So this is telling you we're going to go up 4. So make sure you write this down. And then your vertex is hk, which is that. So I want you to go ahead and I want you to try those two. And like I said, I already kind of gave you a hint here. Now let's look at graphing quadratic. So again, once you know how to move, this is pretty easy, but it does take a minute to understand all the parts. So we're looking here. We've got our formula here. And then your vertex is hk. So think of that similar to like your xy. And remember, if a is positive, it goes up. If a is negative, you go down. So I've got a little table here. So what you're going to do is charts for points. So you can move left to right 1 from h and then substitute in an x value and continue for more points. Or there's a little shortcut. You start at the vertex and you go right 1 and then you go up 1. And then you go right another one. So it's called the 1, 3, 5. Or 1a, 3a, 5a. So you're always moving 1 and then you're going to go up 1, move 1 over from there, and then go up 3, move another 1 over, and you're going up 5. So here's what we're going to do. I did this one for you. I started. So it says first decide if the parabola opens up or down. Well, right now, this 2 is, it's positive, so I know it's going to open up. And then we need to find the vertex and then graph it. So the vertex is, did I write it down here? Yes, I did. So the vertex is HK. So in this case, we said this is the vertex here is 1, 4. And we wrote that. So now here's where the graphing part comes in. So here we're going to use this to graph. So it's, you're always going to go 1, 2, 3 for your X. And then it's go 1A, 3A, 5A. Well, didn't we just say A was 2? So we're going to plug in 1 times 2. So we're actually going to go 2. And then here, plug in 2, we get 6. And then plug in 2, and we get 10. So you go from the vertex, you go over 1, but we're going to go up 2. Then we go over 1, and then you would go up 6 and put your point there. And then you go over 1 and then up 10. And then here we go left 1, up 2, left 1, up 6, and then follow that pattern. So it's a good little pattern to follow with your 1A, 3A, 5A. All right, now here I want to do this one because it says decide if the parabola opens up or down. Well, if you notice here, A is negative. So since A is negative, it's going to open down. And then we need to figure out the rest. So it says state the vertex. Well, the vertex, notice it's a +1, so that really means H is -1. And then here, K is just K. So your vertex is going to be, oops, it's HK. So we said it's going to be -1, 2. So we're going to plot our point here. And then now A is -3. So that's our A. So we're going to do our little table, go 1, 2, 3 for your X's. And then for Y, it's 1A, 3A, 5A. So in this case, since it's a -3, you're going to go down 3. So we're going to go from our vertex, we're going to go over 1, down 3. Over 1, down 9. Go 1, 2, 8, 9, and then plot your point. And then if we were to continue, we would go over 1 more and down 15. And then whatever we do here, since this is our axis of symmetry, we just reflect it to the other side. So I know axis of symmetry here, so if I went 1 this way, I got to go 1 this way. Or over 1, down 3. Over 1, down 9. Over 1, down 15. All right, I want you to go ahead and try that one. And then now it says writing the equation of a parabola. So remember, this is your equation of a parabola. So I like to write it at the top and then start plugging in information and finding the rest. For this, what we need to do is I know X and Y are any point that's on here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in, I'm going to plug in my X. And I'm going to, or my H, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. H is what I meant to say. So I'm going to take my vertex here, which is, oops, 3, 1. And I'm going to take my vertex and I'm plugging my 3 here and my 1 here. Okay. Now remember, this is +3 because you're always going to be minus something. Now, what we're going to do is now we're going to take another point, and it doesn't matter which one. You could do this one or that one. I'm going to pick that one. That's pretty easy. Now I'm going to plug in my x and my y. So I've got my x, I've got my h, I've got my y, and I've got my k. The only thing I don't know is my a. So I plugged in this point, and I plugged in this point. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to solve for a. So I got a equals 2/3. So once I did that, I know a is 2/3. I know h is 3. I know k is 1. And this whole thing is your equation. And then your vertex would be 3, 1. All right, same thing here. I'm going to take your vertex and I'm going to plug it in for your h and your k. So our vertex is 5. 5, 4. Did I plug that into the right number? Did I do it backwards? I think I did it backwards. This is what happens sometimes. All right, and I like to sing a song. So yes, so let's go ahead, let me double check that. Yep. Oh no, I did it right. Okay, sorry, I was looking at that point. I meant to look at that point. Okay, yes, here we go. So 4, 5. I looked at that and it confused me for a second, but I forgot that I just didn't write down 4 or 5 here. Okay, we're good. We're back on track. All right, so I got my 4 and I've got my 5. And then now I'm going to pick any other point. So I could pick this point, I could pick this point. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pick this one for my x. And then I'm going to pick this one for my y. And then go ahead and I'm going to solve everything. So I'm going to get 1 squared plus 5. And so I get 1a plus 5, subtract 5. And I get a equals -1. All right, so now a is -1. Our vertex, we said, was 4, 5. And then don't forget, you're going to have a negative there, so this is really a +4 for your h, but your negative will be there. And then since a is negative, that goes out front. All right, go ahead and try this one. I am going to give you this point at 0, 5. And then I think you guys should be able to figure out the vertex is here. And then go ahead and find a. And that is how you do vertex form of a parabola, and any transformations are basically how it moves.